Hey, fifth grade, let's go ahead and take a look at our English language arts lesson, which is on lesson 203. Okay, so my question to you as we get going is, why do writers have main idea and supporting details? So this is the question we are looking at answering as we get into our lesson today. So today we're going to look at some different context clues to determine the meaning of some different unknown words, but we are also going to be looking at determining the main idea and supporting details within a text. Whoops. Super cute dog. All right, so when it comes to finding the main idea and supporting details, let's take a look at this short video clip that I have on finding the main idea and supporting details.
Strawberry is the best ice cream. It's not too sweet and not too sour. It has a beautiful pink color, and best of all, it has pieces of real strawberries in it. I love strawberry ice cream. Finding the main idea. Unpacked. So what's this passage all about? The topic is the general subject that the text is about. It's usually a noun. In this case, the topic is strawberry ice cream. The main idea is the message the writer is trying to get across about the subject. It's the main point of the text, usually a sentence. Here, the writer is saying that strawberry is the best ice cream flavor. But you can't just leave it at that. Good writers support the main idea with details that provide examples. So, why is strawberry the best ice cream flavor? Well, it's not too sweet and not too sour. It has a beautiful pink color, and best of all, it has pieces of real strawberries in it. Okay, let's read another passage together. A paleontologist is a scientist who studies fossils. Fossils help us learn more about animals and plants that lived on Earth many years ago. Fossilized footprints help us understand an animal's size and weight. Fossilized teeth can give us hints about an animal's diet. We can even learn about the landscape where a plant or animal lived. If there are fish fossils in what is now a desert, you might guess that the landscape was once a body of water. What's the topic of this passage? The broad subject that the text is about. Fossils. What's the main idea? The main point that the writer is trying to say. Let's look at some of the words that the writer uses throughout the passage. Fossils, learn, understand, hints, guess. The main idea is that fossils help us learn more about animals and plants that lived on Earth many years ago. What are some of the details that support the main idea? Fossilized footprints help us understand an animal's size and weight. Fossilized teeth can give us hints about an animal's diet. There are other supporting details too. These details provide descriptions and examples that prove that the main idea is true. Are you ready to try one on your own? Plant and animal species adapt or change over long periods of time. Adaptations help animals and plants survive in their environments. The pitcher plant eats insects, so it developed slippery, tube-shaped leaves to trap them. Cacti live in the dry desert, so they adapted to have rubbery stems that store water. Grasshoppers adapted to be bright green, so they could be camouflaged in the grass. What are the topic and main idea of this passage?
Okay, so let's go ahead and
Back to the
talk
ice
a
cream
little bit
question.
about what is
Extra
the
grass.
topic and main idea of this passage. So in this case, what I want you to do is check this either on your whiteboard or your dry erase board. What would you think that the topic would be? So we just had some reading that our presenter gave us, and she was talking about how the topic is usually a noun. So this is going to be probably over plant and animal adaptations, or even something as simple as adaptations. So in this case, my main idea is going to be that plant and animal species adapt or change over time. Then my supporting details for this would be that the pitcher plant eats insects, so it has slippery tube-like leaves. So that's our first example. The second example would be cacti live in the dry desert. The third one is going to be that grasshoppers adapted to be bright green. So with main idea and supporting details, you want to think of main idea and supporting details as a table, okay? So a table isn't going to stand with like one leg, okay? So if I was to erase this, my table isn't going to stand. It's going to fall over. Whoop, okay? So I know it's not going to stand with two usually either. It has to either lean up against something or have a different center of gravity in order to stand. Usually 3 legs, a table can stand with 3, but it's even better with 4. So usually we would say with details, there needs to be 3 details for each main idea. So let's take a look at what could my main idea be in this article, okay? So it says packing and moving can be a lot of work, but it can be made much easier by being organized. With more people in the family, being organized so that everyone's things are sorted will be a big help. When everything is sorted, packed, and labeled, it makes it much easier to load a truck in a way that things do not get to move around or break. Going with a reputable moving company is also important if you are going to hire someone to do the job for you. You want a company that will take good care of your belongings, will not damage your home, and will be on time. Moving companies need equipment that is in good working order, that has stuff like dollies, which are these items right here, a lift, and of course, a moving truck. So, what is the main idea here? Well, before we find the main idea, my question to you is, what's the topic? What is the author writing this about? Well, what did the author talk a lot about? Moving, right? So moving would be the topic. My main idea that the author wants to focus on is that moving can be easier by being organized. So now I'm going to look for evidence that supports that moving can be easier with organization. So we have getting a reputable company would help. They're going to take good care of your belongings. They're probably not going to break it. And they're going to have the tools you need. On organization, we know with more people in the family, being organized will help. So this is focusing on organization in this paragraph. We also know when everything is sorted, packed, and labeled, it makes it easier to load the truck in a way that things won't move around. So we know that loading and packing the truck matters. So our topic is moving. This first one is on organization, would be the main idea of this first paragraph. My main idea is about using a moving company and why you should use a moving company. So let's take a look at another, okay? So as we look for finding the central or the main idea, some things that help us are determining, well, maybe what's the author's purpose? Like, what's their perspective for writing this? And what do I need to know for this? I can also look for some repeated words and phrases. I can focus on looking for context clues found in maybe the title or the heading. And I can also look at some examples or explanations. So this says Captain Robert Scott, born June of 1868, was a member of the British Royal Navy. He is famous for being an Antarctic explorer who led 2 expeditions during his career. Captain Scott was persistent. The first expedition he led was the Discovery Expedition from 1901 to 1904. The objective of this journey was for scientific and exploration purposes in the Antarctic region. The goal was to make headway to reach new places and find new life. It had been 60 years since anyone from the British Navy had returned to this region for exploration. The second expedition, the Terra Nova, was from 1910 to 1913. Part of the reason for the Terra Nova expedition was for Scott and his team to reach the South Pole and claim their discovery for the British Empire. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what is the main or central idea here. What's the author focusing on? The author is focusing on Captain Robert Scott is an Antarctic explorer who led 2 expeditions. My evidence that supports this is it talks about his first expedition being the discovery, told me the goals, told me how long it had been since he had been there. Then I have my second one, which is the second expedition, the Terra Nova, was from 1910 to 1903. And it tells me why they went on that. This one has 2 main ideas here, okay? Sorry, 2 supporting details, not 2 main ideas. Sometimes a main idea can be obvious. You can see it, kind of like an iceberg. So here's what you see. Other times, the main idea isn't going to be visible or able to be found directly in a text, like finding a quote. It's going to be implicit, which means you have to draw some conclusions and find evidence that would support, like, yes, this is your main idea. This is why this is your main idea. So let's look right here at this one. So this says bison are the most, let me try that one more time. Bison are an important part of the park's history. Today, Yellowstone has the largest public herd of American bison in the United States. It wasn't always this way, however. While the bison once roamed wild through most of North America in great numbers, intense hunting in the 1800s led to a dramatic decline in population. By the late 1880s, only about 2 dozen bison are left. All right, what is my topic? My topic is going to be bison. I know that my central idea is that bison are important to Yellowstone National Park or Yellowstone Park's history. Okay? I know that it tells me what is evidence that supports that the bison are important. I know that it tells me that the largest herd is in Yellowstone. I know that bison once roamed wild, but hunting brought a decline. I see by the end of the late 1800s, there was only about 2 dozen bison left at that point. That's evidence that supports talking about bison in Yellowstone National Park. So I have 3 different pieces of evidence that talk about the decline of bison. Okay. So I can now see and look at, are there specific details that talk about the decline? Yes. My topic, bison, is explicit. I know it's explicit. But I know I have to infer what my main idea is. Did it directly come out and tell me they're important and why? Well, they told me they're important, but they didn't really go into why they're important. They just started to really focus on the decline. So I know that they're important and they've been on decline. So I have evidence that supports that they're important and they've been on decline. All right, so let's look at another. It says, can you identify the sentence in the text with implicit details that support the idea that Yellowstone National Park must have an immense amount of water to sustain life of bison as well as other plants and animals in the park? So is it going to directly tell me why? I know that it says implicit information, which means because it's implicit, that means I have to kind of read between the lines to figure out why we have so much water, okay, and details that support that there has to be a lot of water in the park. So here we go. In 1902, Yellowstone National Park's management started to help the bison population come back. By 1954, the herd had grown to over 1,000 animals. Park staff have worked hard to successfully bring these bison back from the brink of extinction. The bison that now live in the park feed primarily on grasses and the plants in the open grasslands and meadows. They typically forage for 9 to 11 hours daily. As a result, overgrazing is a concern. Access to water is also very important to the bison herd that roams the park, since the herd of bison needs about 500 gallons of water each day. Understanding the need to grow the number of bison and environmental concerns it brings is an important balance. So I'm looking for, again, details that support that there must be a lot of water at Yellowstone National Park. Well, it didn't directly come out and tell me that Yellowstone National Park had lots of water, but it did tell me this. There's over 1,000 animals in the bison herd by 1954. Well, that's almost 75 years ago. Then I can see a herd of bison needs what? 500 gallons of water per day. Well, if this is per day and that's only one herd of animals, there's probably more than that in the national park. So I know that there must be lots of water in Yellowstone National Park to be able to support 500 gallons of water each day and all the other animals too. All right, so let's take a look at finding our overarching idea and then main idea for paragraph 1 and main idea for paragraph 2. What I want you to do is pause the video right now. I want you to try this on your own with reading and then trying to identify what's the main idea for paragraph 1, what's the main idea for paragraph 2, and what could our topic be. So instead of like overarching central idea, we're just going to put topic. Okay, so what's your topic? All right, so it says that there are almost 400 species of different animals in Yellowstone. So visitors will likely encounter a wild animal. This can be dangerous. For example, bison are unpredictable and can run 3 times faster than humans. They have injured more people in Yellowstone than any other animal. Rule number 1 is to never approach bison or any other animal in the park. They may have babies nearby and attack to protect their young. So I know for this first paragraph, if I'm looking for like what's the main idea about it, this is telling me that bison are unpredictable. And I also know that they can be dangerous. Did they give me pieces of evidence that support that they can be predictable and dangerous? Yes, I know that they can be able to run faster than humans. They've injured more people than any other animal inside the park. And sometimes they try to protect their young by attacking others. These are all 3 pieces of evidence that tell me bison are unpredictable. Okay, so that would be my main idea. that bison are unpredictable and can be dangerous. My next paragraph is about bears. Well, I know I'm not going to be reading about bison here, which means my topic is not going to be about bison. If I'm reading about bears down here and bison here, my topic is probably going to be like bears and bison, because in Yellowstone National Park. So bears are known for protecting their babies. They are common in Yellowstone. If you encounter a bear, stay calm, try to appear non-threatening, and avoid interaction. First, do not make direct eye contact with the bear. Next, speak to it in a calm voice. Then, leave the area calmly and slowly, never turning your back to the bear. Finally, if you have bear spray, remove the safety lock and use it only in an emergency. The safest way to view wildlife is from the inside of a vehicle. It is good to be prepared if you do encounter a wild animal while walking. So what's my main idea about this one? Well, this one is telling me that bears are known for protecting their babies. Is there evidence that supports that this is talking about bears protecting babies? Yes. It tells me, what do I do if I encounter a bear? So I know that this is probably about what to do when you encounter a bear. So it says, like, 1, stay calm, avoid eye contact. 2, speak in a calm voice. Finally, carry bear spray. So this is about, again, what to do if you meet a bear. In Yellowstone National Park. All right, we said over here that this one was that bison can be unpredictable. All right, so let's head over to Buzz and take a look at your assignment today. So I'm going to go ahead and hop on into Buzz. Da, 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 da. And when I hop into Buzz and I go into 5th grade English Language Arts, okay, I know that we are going into lesson 203. So I see we have our reading minutes for this week. Let's take a look at lesson 203. You're going to have my video right here when you go into it. You have the warm-up where you're looking at different forms of words that are sound the same but spelled different. As you continue, you're going to see some different definitions with bold-faced words. Then we have some different text features and central ideas. As you continue, it's going to review implicit and explicit inferences on page 4. But when you get to the end, it'll say like, hey, what's our assignment? Well, you're going to be looking for the central idea and the story we chose to go to the moon. So here's the story. We chose to go to the moon. All right. Then you have your handout, which is looking at your topic, what's the main idea, and what's the 3 details from we chose to go to the moon. All right. Let's look at how I'm going to grade we chose to go to the moon. I'm looking for at least 3 supporting details. You can find the central idea and the topic, and that you can explain the difference between implicit and explicit details in your own words of at least 2 to 3 sentences. Please don't put like 1 or 2 words. You're getting ready to go into middle school next year. I expect you to write fully formed sentences at this point. You got this, 5th grade. Good luck, gang.